Hello and welcome to the CEO 1440 show, the Mortgage Broker Builder show, where we talk about all things mortgage, real estate, and just living your best life with your 1,440 minutes every single day. Now, I have a guest this week. I've known this young lady for, I don't even know, going back to I think 2007. But she's a mortgage banker. She's owned a knitting company and a bunch of different things. We'll get into that. But we're going to talk today about real estate relationships, about where the market's going, and just some different stuff. But this is a friend, somebody that works with us. She sits right like up there, and mortgage banker extraordinaire, Brenda Ratliff. Welcome.
Hi, John.
Hi.
Yes. It's been a long time since we've known each other.
It has been a long time. And
I was in my 20s when we met.
you were in your 20s?
I was.
I was not, but that's okay. I'm aging gracefully, as I like to say. But so Brenda, just, like the people that listen to this, you probably are going to get some mortgage bankers, some mortgage brokers, probably some real estate agents, and just some like random weird people. And when I look at my analytics, like there's people in Pakistan that love me. So I don't really understand like the why, but that's what it is. So just a wide group of people. We're just going to like kind of have a conversation, talk about who knows what, and we'll see where it goes. And I like to tell everybody, if it's terrible, like we just will never put this out and it'll never see the light of day. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, we met back 2007. You got hired, was one of the last training classes that what is today Rocket Mortgage did back after the pandemic. And then, like you were the last class. Actually, my wife was also in that class, a lot of other really cool people. And that was back at what was Quicken Loans. So you started back then. When did you... So you got started in loans, then you left to go and start a quilting business.
Yeah. So, I got that job at Quicken and I didn't know what I was doing. I worked at I sold shoes. I had been in sales before, but not finance other than working at a bank. So, I didn't have much going on in my life other than like trying to have a career. I was like probably like 28, I think, like late 20s. You kind of get to that age where you're like done going out and partying and doing stuff. And I went to 8 years of college for my sociology degree that, what do you do with that? So you have your little existential crisis and then you buckle down and try some stuff, right? I really liked that job. I think I run a revenue coin like my first or second month that I was on the floor. I think you were the one that gave it to me too. So it was fun, but I've always wanted to own my own business and I like, being my own boss and things like that. Kind of just like, I don't know if it's a control thing or, just wanting to experiment and you kind of, get to do things your own way if you're the boss, right?
Kind
of. Kind of. There's a lot of like also responsibility that goes along with being the boss too. But I've always like not been one of those people that shies away from responsibility because I've always thought like, I don't want to die thinking like I could have done more stuff. I've always, even as I was a kid, just been that type of person. Like I want to experience a lot of different things. So I remember we were at like one of those big meetings with Dan Gilbert because he was still the one doing all those meetings, talking about the isms. And he brought up Bisdom U, which was like this business incubator that he wanted to do in Detroit. And like the gist of it is that, we would run a business and the incubator would own a portion of it. That money would then feed into more businesses. And then Detroit is the most wonderful city ever. And, pat on the backs for all of us. And I think that I learned a lot. I think it was like a whole year that I did that where, like Dan Gilbert's personal, marketing team would come in and teach us marketing, or like his lawyer came in and taught a class on all of the law that we needed to do. HR, same thing like that. We had a sales class. So it was kind of like, and I think they wanted to like make it like The Apprentice because they had like a big board, where we would get points if we like participated. And I like, of course, was top of the big board, right? So I got to go to like some like conference in Detroit for free, right? So, it was fun. Like that was like a fun experience, but I got pregnant partway through and ended up not doing a business with the incubator. And I think, it was what it was. And I was really bummed out at the time. I think it took me a good like 6 months because I'd given up my good job at
Yeah,
Quicken
we
Loans
weren't
where I was
happy
making
when
good
we weren't
money,
happy
you
when you
know.
went, right? So like I was running a team probably 200 people or so, where I think I had 14, 15 leaders, and right, everybody that made a dollar, I made a dollar, right? So like for me, like I needed a whole bunch of Brenda Ratliffs out there, and here's this new up and coming,
Right.
girl that's crushing it. She goes off to the Bisdom U. Like, oh, that was like another one down, but it was neat. And just one thing for those of you that don't know, so Quicken, what is today, Rocket Mortgage, they did a lot of things in hindsight. When I look back over my career, I learned so many things there that you didn't even know that you were learning, but like how much they pour into people, right? Like they spent tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars pouring into the people to provide, different verticals for people. It ultimately, led to where they are today, but we didn't see it because you were living in there. But everything that they did with Bisdom U, like it sparked, there's been millions of dollars of wealth created from the people that went through those classes that learned how to do that. So you learned valuable lessons. You didn't
Yeah.
even, right? Like we were just taking it for granted.
Well, and I think that's the thing is like I am one of those people that I'm a lifelong learner. I have always enjoyed school. I stayed in college way too long. Like I went to college for 8 years with just my, one bachelor degree, just because I think I was enjoying so many different things to learn. But you can't just stay in school. Eventually they were like, hey, we're not giving you any more student loans. You're gonna have to pick something and get out of here. Um, but I think that's the nice thing about owning your own business is that you get to learn a lot of different things. You get to wear a lot of different hats. I get bored pretty easily, so I like, and I think that's a good thing and a bad thing. I think it's a good thing that I get bored a little easily because it spurs me to do something that like keeps my mind occupied. But also, I think sometimes I can get caught in the always learning and not going to do the thing. And executions, like, I mean, this more than anybody. Like, you can sit in the room and talk about starting a podcast, for example, and if you never ever do it, nothing
Yeah.
changes in
A
your
lot of
life.
people spend an awful
So
lot of time revving up the
it was,
engine and never really ever doing anything. And it's become easier and easier than ever today
yeah,
because there are so many podcasts that, and so many people feel, oh, I need to do this. I need to figure out how my CRM works, or I need to do this before I can take the next step. Where often you'll just get further ahead just by taking the next step. I do just want to back up though 1 minute here. And I did a terrible, I always do a bad job of this. But so again, why you might want to listen to Brenda. So we got into her backstory. Well, just long story short, she got out of loans for a really long time, came back in, just is celebrating her 5th year back in the mortgage business. Consistently, like year in, year out, closes over 100 transactions. Like hadn't had safe nothing in years, came back in, crushed it, like came in kind of COVID, which was a great time to get started. But as everybody here knows, most of the bankers that started in COVID and crushed it, like they're now crushing something else like tables, Uber. I don't know what they're crushing, but it's not mortgages anymore. And Brenda's been able to consistently, she's still doing, month in, month out, it might be 8 closings, 11 closings. Like it's consistent business. Over half of her business is purchase. She works at a company yet is very entrepreneurial or intrapreneurial. Like she runs her own business inside of a business. And so a lot of those threads and things can be pulled. So why you might want to listen to her is if you're maybe struggling to get to the next level. I know for a fact Brenda messes up all kinds of things, tries all kinds of things, does all kinds of things, but is constantly just moving forward. So hopefully we can glean some of those things out of here. So if you still made it this far, this is why you want to listen, is because she's out there day in, day
yeah.
out doing it. 100 plus closings, well over 650 closings since she's been back. It's probably way higher with non-QM and some weird stuff out there. But so you did that. You got pregnant. You had a kid. You went off. You started a knitting store, and you and I stayed in touch even while you were running the knitting store. Biggest lessons you
Hmm.
learned running your own business. I don't
Yeah,
want to have a whole lot of knitting stuff here, because like you are a 90-year-old
yeah.
woman living
Well,
in a
well,
younger
first of all,
body when it comes to
well,
the knitting stuff.
no, it's not. It's not like that. So like basically here's the gist of it is it's a quilting story. Like when I had my baby, well, he's 15 now. Um I needed a hobby. because he had heart surgery. So I didn't get a chance to go back to work and I needed something to do. And I started quilting just because I had a sewing machine. My mom taught me to sew when I was a kid. One of my friends started doing it. There was a local shop and I didn't like any of the fabric. And I mean, you just make a phone call like, hey, where can I buy this? And I was like, could I buy a whole bolt? It cost like no money. So I started my whole business with $600. And it was basically just to fund the fact that I needed something to do. And this was my new hobby and it was expensive and we didn't have a lot of money, right? So I just made the money. And then it got to the point where I think one year I was at 2.7 million. I had 12 employees, two retail locations, one in Ann Arbor. Both were over like 2,500 square feet. I had two sewing machine dealerships, which like you sell, machines that are like 10 grand sometimes. You make commission off of them. 40,000 Instagram followers. I mean, this was back like 10 years ago. More people were on Instagram, and that's big for the quilting world. It's a decent industry, but it's not, something huge out there. So, I mean, I just kept trying all the stuff that I learned about running a regular business, right? A lot of quilt shop owners are retirees. They're in their 60s, their husband has a pension, especially in the boomer world, right? So all of these ladies were doing something completely different than I was doing. I wanted to have like an online shop. I wanted to have the more modern fabric. I started learning Japanese so that I could get fabric specifically from Japan. I was one of the only stores that carried Liberty of London fabric, which is the oldest fabric house in the entire world. It's $36 a yard back then for fabric. So this is not like, going to Joann Fabrics and picking up a couple yards and putting a shirt together. This is making like an artful quilt. I would do big retreats. My biggest retreat, I had 250 people come. Four teachers for a whole weekend. It cost $500 to come to the retreat. So that was something that I did where I would make like $40,000-$50,000 in just one weekend profit because I would be doing this, but they would be doing on top of like my online sales and things like that. I would have never been able to do all of that had I not had a good team. I had a girl that was my assistant and I would have a meeting with her once a week. We would go over everything that I wanted on social media and then she would just do it. Like if I had to do it all myself, like I would not have been able to do it. And it got to the point where I was really popular and famous in the quilting world or whatever. I was on television shows and in magazines. However, at that point, you don't make that much money. You're buying fabric wholesale, right? But it's all coming through a middleman in the United States. Like all the fabric that we use today is from Korea or Japan. None of it's manufactured in the United States. So you've got a middleman that you have to buy it from for maybe like $5-$6 a yard, but I'm mostly online, so I have to compete with everybody else online. So I was only making a margin of like $3 to $4 per yard. You've got to sell a lot of fabric for two retail locations and 12 employees. And then COVID was hitting, and I just, I felt like I loved that job and the things that I got to go with it. But you
Yeah.
have to have money to retire, right? And I did enjoy mortgages a lot. So I was really lucky at the time that Brick Financial started, and knowing you and Natalie for so long, I feel like that was just a lucky,
Yeah,
easy
I remember the
transition.
conversations of you like thinking about shutting down your business, like, you know, right, like walking through
It
like,
was
what are we going to
weird.
do? And you're like, I have to sell all these shells. Like you had all this stuff, and I don't know, I feel like it all worked out like the way it was supposed to. Um, but so
Yes.
and she was too. Like I remember seeing things like she was a little celebrity. Like if you just picture a quilting show, and I make fun of it because right, I guess I can. But you picture like a
Right.
whole bunch of people going like the demographic of people showing up to quilting, and then you've got Brenda in there. Like she was a little bit of like a, a celebrity amongst the quilting community. And it was funny. I remember like your social media posts and stuff. But so you got back into mortgages back, I don't know, was it 2020?
It was
Okay. So
July of
COVID had hit
2020
three, 4
is
months
when it
before.
was starting.
Hey, John here, not trying to sell you anything, coming at you with a bunch of hot commission breath. But what this is an FYI letting you know that we do have a community where we have shared hundreds of posts, hundreds of sales scripts, techniques, tactics, different things to help you grow your business and maximize your 1,440 minutes every day. I'm not sure if it's for you, but it definitely could be for you. So go in there and check it out. CEO1440.com will take you to a place. You can join our free group, give it a sniff test. If you like it, awesome. We've got a lot of other things. We probably would like to sell you something. But right now, that's our gift to you. Get in there, check it out. CEO1440 will take you to a place where you can sign up to be part of our free group. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah, like it was funny. Like I feel like it was great that I learned how to run a business and marketing. I mean, all of these things that you learn, like sales, I feel like my sales skills that I've learned, especially like when I got to shore everything up and I worked at Quicken, I felt like I honed a lot of that stuff and I learned a lot of marketing stuff just in like college and doing the business incubator and trial and error, was a huge thing. I never paid for Facebook ads. Every bit of traffic that I got was organic. I really pushed that. I didn't have the money, right? It was like, you're an entrepreneur, you got to figure out how to do it on your own. You don't have the cash for it. But I really enjoyed all of that stuff. It was really hard for me to close my business though. And I think that's the thing that people don't understand is like, no one teaches you how to close a business. No one tells you when it's time to close a business. Like I probably should have not bought the second shop that I own. I mean, I purchased this as a shop that I bought from another person who had owned it since 1983, but I just wanted to save some business that was dying. Like they don't teach you like here's how you get out of your business. Here's how you sell all of your things. And I wish that I had had a mentor or somebody to teach me that at the time. I figured it out, but like I felt like it could have been an easier transition. And I know there's a lot of people that have a business and are not sure what to do, and that's probably a huge struggle for everybody.
Yeah,
I don't think people
I
realize that.
work with, right? So like in my consulting, I talk to a lot of times when people come to me and they're coming about, they're running their own broker shop and they don't really know what's going on. They know that they're not making enough money. I have write little ads that say, get your poop in a group. And they're like, my poop's all over the place. I need it in a group. And a lot of times those conversations really are that. It's, are you better off just kind of folding up your shop and maybe just hanging your, like there's all kinds of flat fee places that you can hang your license. And the difference between the two, they provide you a fair amount of autonomy. Like it's a personal decision. And often it boils down to what I've found is it boils down to the ego part of like, will people perceive me as a failure or, and like,
Yes.
is it good? Is it bad? And what I like to tell people is, the only person that, right, your spouse, your loved ones aren't going to perceive you as a failure. They see the struggle, right? They're going to understand. And outside of your own checking account, like your bank statements, your bank doesn't care. Like when I go and deposit money, it doesn't ask me, so are you still self-employed? It only cares whether or not money's going in, money's flowing out, and does more go in than goes out every month. So I think that too often people are wrapped up in what other people think, and you wouldn't go to them for advice. You don't really care. So just advice to anybody. What happens in your life, there's probably 3 to 5 people that you even care to discuss it with. And outside of like serve those 3 to 5 people right, because most people, like even family, blood, like they have your best interest at heart, but it's also your best interest, what's best for them. So
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of that is risk. I think the biggest reason I did not close my business is because I didn't want to let people down. I had employees that I was like, I don't know where they're going to go find another job, that had worked for me for years. I mean, I owned that business for almost 12 years, I think, 11 years. So, I mean, some of my employees I'd known, like I'd seen them every
Yeah.
day for like 6 years, and I felt a responsibility to them to keep the business open. I mean, I never once missed a paycheck, but like I think the thing that really tripped me up, and one of the big lessons I learned was, well, and one of the things we can talk about is like industries and businesses change. Like, well, money I was making originally weaned away when there were more like it cost more to have like health insurance for my employees. That was huge cost for me. I had an employee embezzle money from my company and they didn't pay my taxes, so I had IRS problems. And that was a big lesson to learn is background checks for your employees or don't trust every single person that you work for. It really wasn't that much money that this lady took, but the fees were like 5 to 6 times more. So there's more damage just
Yeah.
not paying attention to certain parts of the business. You can't, it's very hard to juggle every single thing. So you can't be perfect with everything. Like perfect is the enemy of done, right? So like I would push things out like, 80 to 90% done just to get them to become profitable. But sometimes there are things that you have to like learn and that was a huge lesson. But you're right. Like I remember I had some family members when I was going to close my business and they were like, can't you just not? Because it was for them very exciting to say like, oh, my relative owns this cool shop. You can see her online. Here's her TV show that she was on. It was on PBS, but like whatever, right? So it's like they're losing that
Yeah.
notoriety that you have, and one of the hardest things for me was I lost a lot of friends, as the shop owner in a town, I had people that were my friends because I had things that they wanted. And as soon as I didn't have those things anymore,
Yeah.
they were nowhere to be found. And that was like probably one of the hardest times in my life without like true people that understood or could like just I mean, how many entrepreneurs close a business, right? Like it's not something that everybody understands. They're like, oh, that's hard. But just going in and like having to figure out how to sell shelves. I ended up having to put like all those shelves that they didn't sell into a storage locker and then just like basically just dumping them, like paying someone to come and take them and throw them away. So I feel like there's just so many things that you don't think about when you're going through that, but being able to pivot and do something different at the same time, I don't know. It was a hard part of my life, but
Yeah.
I did it, Like I went through and I did everything that I could. I don't have a
I think
regret
that
there.
in just by looking from the outside in, right, it did a couple of things. You understand building a personal brand. I think that you understand how to help
Hmm.
others build a personal brand. I'm, well aware of, and I'd love to talk about, your agent partners, the people you work with, some of those different things, because you've been able to parlay those life experiences into helping. And I see some, and hopefully none of them are listening, but I see some of the agents you work with, and like they're down here. They're not like
Yeah.
the highest producing agent, but they start working with you, and what happens is you're actually leveling them up. It's almost like you're doing a coaching program inside with these agents as they start working with you. You're showing up like you're in Ohio with agents. You're like all over the place trying to show up for your agents and with a very entrepreneurial mindset. So when you go about, you've got all these lessons when you're going out trying to, I know you've got dozens of agents that you work with. Some send you a lot of business, some send you very little. That's because they do very little. But is there like a mindset that you have when you're
Hmm.
like going in, like what's your desired outcome when you start working with new agents? And I know, we have conversations. You're always looking for new agents, but it's the nonstop game of being in the lending space. What is your like kind of mindset? What do you go into? What are you trying to identify there?
I want them to know that I am a trusted partner. I don't like the whole like coffee thing. I feel like it's kind of skeezy. I try to think like, how would I want to be approached by somebody that well, I don't want people to just send business to me. I want them to be my business partner. I do bring value to this. I mean, like you said, I've done over what, like 650 loans. I've worked with over 300 different real estate agents in the last 5 years. Like I worked with a couple of teams who would have new people on the team, and then I would go and try to, teach them enough where they're not, like I want to be their trusted friend. Like now, the unfortunate part is some of those people don't work out, and you've put your effort and time into someone who might not, send you 12 deals a year. Maybe they only send you one every 2 years, but I feel like at this point over the last 5 years, I've gotten enough one-off people where I've done a good job for them, where they're like, oh, I remember her. I'm doing my one deal a year. I'm going to send it to Brenda. And if they don't end up staying in the real estate world, that's fine too, right? You can't know the future of how that partnership is going to go. Maybe it's a crappy deal. Maybe it's only going to make you like $500, $600, and some of those deals are crappy. But then those agents, like you said, you don't learn on the easy deals. You don't learn anything if they've got an 800 credit score, a 20% debt to income ratio, and you've got a loan processor helping you with it. You learn on the deals that are difficult. And I think that's beneficial for both the agent and me. And just my whole thing is trying to just be a mentor or someone that's their partner rather than just a loan officer.
Hey, John here. If you're anything like me, you like to get in, poke around, you like to check things out before you go diving in head deep. We've got a group where you can do that very thing. CEO 1440 is a community. We post in there all the time. There's hundreds of different people, a lot of different conversations, and things that you may be able to take away and apply into your business. Now, the guarantee, I can't make you any guarantees. It's not going to 5X your business, but what it might do, it could 5X your business, probably will give you some things that you can tangibly take away and start applying in your business every single day. Everything we post may not be for you, but it definitely could be for you. So check it out. The group's free. Would love to see you in there. CEO1440.com. Enjoy the rest of the show. I have this weird thing where my cell phone's plugged into my computer, and so it rings on my computer. I can't change it. I think that that's a great mindset. We do something inside of our Fin Toolbox where I encourage people, if you can sign up 100 agents, 2 a week for like a shared app, even if they're not the top producing agents, because a lot of people are gunning for like, you'll see these things. Don't deal with an agent that doesn't do at least 12 transactions a year, which is fine. It's just,
Right.
it's a
They've got to
very
be aware.
small population of agents. So they're getting bombarded. If I can sign up 2 agents that only send me a deal, let's say every other year. So 2 agents a week, 100 a year that do, let's say 4 transactions. And I get 1 transaction from them every other year. The first year I sign up 100 people. Next year I close 50 deals off of those agents, right? If that's only
Right.
half of them sending me a deal. The following year, if I do that again, I now have 200 agents in my ecosystem, but that following year, I get 50% of the 200. I now am doing 100 transactions. And if you do, if you make just $1,000, on 100 transactions, like, that's 100 grand. You probably make more. So, as you start doing those things, it begins to compound. So often people, I think that they get bad advice. There's nothing wrong with targeting top producing agents. But again, there's those other agents out there that maybe are a little less served that you can bring in. They're a little more appreciative. They have less entitlement. And I've seen you do that consistently, right? Like agents that they were doing a closing a quarter, and the next thing you know, you guys get some stuff dialed in and you're doing things. And now all of a sudden they had their best month ever with 3 closings and all 3 of them went to you.
I had the most I ever had. I had one agent that I started working with. Like it was literally like his
Okay.
I was his first loan officer that I worked with. It got to the point where it was probably like 8 months in. He was gung ho, like a business owner prior to being a real estate agent. And then those, you kind of when you talk to an agent, you kind of know where they're gonna fall. But anyway, like we had 10 deals at one time. He got to the point where he was the buyer's agent with 10 closings in 1 month. 8 months in. Like that's huge. That's a lot of money to make. And now he runs a team, 3 years in. I feel like that's the thing is like it doesn't and I don't you don't always get, like you said, like the top they may not be the people you want to work with, like I would rather work with somebody who's just a hard worker and just wants to feed their family. I don't need somebody who wants to go on fancy, flashy vacations with me or take me to some like, I don't know, fancy restaurant. I mean, I can do all of this myself,
Right.
without having to like be somebody else's best friend. But like, I want to be able to say like, oh, you're having this issue. I've already dealt with this in loans. Here's what I think the best course of action is, not doing their job for them, but like teaching them something where they can repeat it over and over again.
Yeah,
and
I think
hopefully
that's a
make more
Midwest quality. The more I deal with, right, I have clients all over the place, and it's definitely a Midwestern thing
Yeah.
that like we'll mow our own lawns, we'll paint our own stuff. Like there's something about it. I don't know what.
Yes.
but it's like a Midwesterner thing that we like that. And there was a quote that I was just thinking about that Mark Twain said, and Samuel, I think his name's Samuel, I don't know. Mark Twain is what I know him as. But his quote is that not all horses were born equal, some were born to win. And I think that's what you're talking about, right? Like you can just kind of get a vibe for them. Somebody like this person's got a higher likelihood than most that they're going to get in there, figure it out. And you partner with them, and you've had, like I said, I've seen you have good results consistently. I watch your business from the outside, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
no, I
harder
don't,
on
I
the
don't want in
inside
there.
than it is
That's
on the
like
outside. So.
I do not want anywhere right. Like
Right.
all of you ladies that do your little like the Mortgage Mom Squad thing. Like I listen because I hear it and I'm around it, but like I do not want in the squad. I like you guys can keep doing what you're doing. Like I don't
You don't want to
I
be
don't
part
want
of
to do
our
the quarterly photo
man.
shoots. Like none of that stuff. Like that's all. No,
Right.
that's
I
not
love
like I
that.
want zero to do with that.
No, well, and even our business has changed, in the last 5 years, if you think about it. And that I think, I mean, the whole industry is different
Yeah.
than it was in 2020. So we started out, we had to like be on the phones and we had all these, people in the office like dialing and smiling and, doing like the leads. And it's very different now. It's more organic. It's like it's harder I think now than it was before, not just because it was easier money. Like taking somebody from a 7% to a 3 is like a
Right.
no-brainer. Even a 5, you know what I mean? But now it's this more like nuanced thing. Like you have to get people to like you and want to send you business or pay for leads and just be a phone jockey, but it's worse. So I think that it's two different skills to have an agent that you're schmoozing versus going sitting at your desk and dialing the phone and trying to gain business that way, and you have to have an approach for both of those things. And maybe this is where my sociology degree comes in, like being able to like know how people function in different groups, right? It's just a different sale to a client. You have to be able to be versatile though to be able to do both, or you will not be able to survive um, in both worlds. We've seen that. How many loan officers were there in 2020 versus where there are today,
Yeah, no, they're
right?
significantly less. Biggest pointer you'd give to somebody. So again, I believe and what I see is that there are a lot of people that are still trying to find their way. Do I want to do this? And what happens is they have a lot of start and stops. Oh, I'm going to try this thing on Facebook ads. And they try it and it doesn't work
Mm-hmm.
instantaneously. And so then they bail and they go to the next thing. What would be just a pointer for somebody if they are still out there floundering and they can't figure it out? What would be just one thing outside of saying just be consistent, because that's what everybody says? But like, what would be one thing that you would give them just a
Right.
pointer of like something to just kind of keep the course? Because you had said something also that it's harder. I actually think when you get a business that's 100% referral, you, I actually think
Mm-hmm.
it becomes way easier because it's different, but I believe
Different.
easier
You
because when
know.
I looked at my business back, and when I was doing this full time, like just writing loans, like late 90s, I had, these agents that I worked with, I looked at them as my base salary. Like the agents where it was just consistent. I had this base salary, and let's say that base salary was, 2 closings a month, 3 closings a month, and it was 10 grand I knew I was going to make. And then everything else was kind of gravy on top of that. Like I could bring in extra business. I thought it was less stressful
Mm-hmm.
than trying to call on leads where rates go up and down and your whole pipeline's fragile. Um, but it is definitely
Yeah.
different. So, what would be one pointer you would give to somebody that's still out there floundering, trying to figure out their way, or maybe they're newer in the business, trying to figure out their way? What would you say to them?
I mean, I think that you just have to try a lot of different things. And not, I feel like people put all like a lot of eggs in a lot of baskets, and that's okay, but I don't think that's the right way to go. Like I would just try one thing all in, and if it doesn't work, be able to pivot fast. Like that's the thing is knowing when to cut off what you're doing or keep on. I mean, and I think one of the things that maybe makes me successful is I kind of have this like blind like faith in myself to figure it out, right? And I think that's kind of one of the things too. But like if just do one thing, see if it works. Like you said, like people quit right away. Be like, I'm going to commit to this thing. Maybe it's Facebook ads, maybe it's dialing realtors every week, and then having a goal. Like even when I was in the business incubator, one of the things that I struggled with was creating smart goals and writing them down and doing all the things that like they say. I'm like, I can remember that. I can do that. And you know what? Until I finally like put my ego aside and did that, like actually said, okay, I like, let's say that you want to make, like, for example, where I'm at right now with my business is that I'm pivoting. I'm trying some new things because I was unhappy working with teams, because then you're constantly like needing to be available for all of these people like all the time. And I just don't want to run my business that way anymore. So I made sure that I had enough money, for the next like 3 or 4 months. And then I have goals that I set. But it's basically like, I'm going to do this thing and then I do it. But that's the only thing I'm working on right now for the next 4 months. And my goal is I'm going to make X amount of money by X amount of time. And then you have to keep looking at it and seeing where you're at. Like, I think a lot of people don't have a destination, so they don't know how to get there, if that makes sense.
Hey, if you're listening to this, quick reminder, we have a free group, CEO1440.com. Jump in there. Tons of posts, tons of information, a lot of stuff we're bringing day in, day out to help you do more with your 1,440 minutes every single day. CEO1440.com. Check it out. No, 100%. I mean, I believe that humans as a whole, we overestimate what we can do in a week. And this is a quote. I don't know who came up with it. I've heard it all over the place, but we overestimate what we can do in the short run. And we way underestimate what happens if you just consistently do something over a long enough period of time. And again, going back to when I do the one-on-one coaching with people, one of the biggest things I have to do, somebody sits down, we go through an initial evaluation. Pretty much after 30 years of doing this, I can say, like, here's the 3 things that you need to do. Everybody's business has a biggest lever. Like, if you just fix this one thing, everything else will get better. And sometimes it's really crazy. Like, I had a guy that we started working with, he started going to the gym. Like, I got him going to the gym consistently. Everything else got better in his business. Because before, he had no energy, wasn't sleeping enough, wasn't eating well, like, was drinking it, like, just, it had nothing to do with mortgage, but that was the biggest lever in his business. And I make people do these daily recaps where they like come back at the end of the day, a daily debrief, like, hey, my day was on a scale of 1 to 10. It was this. Here were my big struggles. And every single day for, like, did you make it to the gym? Did you make it to the gym? Like, I was just holding them accountable to going to the gym. But believe it or not, as soon as that started happening, everything else got better. And the same, if you have to call, you're trying to find new agents. That's like every day, call 5 new agents. Like, if you don't do that, you're never going to hit your goal. So I think that's,
but like, you can plan that out. I see people like they're like, I need to do this, and they're floundering because it's like, especially when people are afraid of money, like not having enough money, weird things happen to them. They become a different person. Even myself, like you know, I mean, it's not always sunshine and rainbows, right? Sometimes like you get stressed and that changes you. But you're right, like going to the gym, getting enough sleep, like taking care of your body. Like you're the first person, you're the person. I mean, I've dealt with burnout because I'm one of those people where I will pack my schedule full and then one thing will pop in, and it just over time you have to realize, like, to give yourself breathing room, take care of your body, and then show up and do the thing. Have a goal and show up and you do it. And then one of the things that I like to do is, I mean, I have like crazy spreadsheets, like,
you have
and
a lot of, like, I would say, not Rain Man, but there's something going on over there. That's like a little, I wouldn't say it's off. It's just right. Like, you've got your system and it works.
yeah, it's data. But that's the thing, is like, I learned in my business over the 10 years that I did it. Like, I had to buy a product 6 months in advance that only got printed one time. So it's like, let's say it was a great seller. I can't buy it ever again, right? So I have to predict how much I'm going to sell a half of a year from now. And you get to, like, it's feeling versus data, right? Like, everybody has a feeling like, oh, I'm not doing well. Like, even me, like, I got all those awards from Rocket and I was like, I just thought that I was having the crappiest year because I was going through personal things and I didn't feel like I was putting as 120% of myself in the business. I think even Natalie told me like I can't be at 120% all the time, like, but showing up at 90 is still something. But just over time, like you have this like change in your business that you have to deal with as well, your personal life, right?
Yeah, I think that just it's part of I just think it's part of maturing and getting older and just like being able to understand those ebb and flows. If you think about it, most people like let's say 20% of your days, like 20% of the days it's just shit just doesn't go the way you want it to.
Right.
And 20% of your days you have a really good day. And then there's a middle that's just blah. So if you think about that, that means 1 out of every 5 days is a crappy day. And
Yeah.
it's just gonna right like that's just what the numbers say. 3 out of the 5 days are just blah or crappy. So you have to just understand that getting up and just doing it anyways during the blah and crappy days is just part of life. And we want to have the 20% every day that are like the awesome days, but it doesn't like that's not the reality of the world is most days aren't awesome.
Right.
Unless maybe and I've never been, like I don't know what Jake Paul's life's right. Like he just goes out and boxes, but I'm sure that even those like, influencer bros that look like they're having a great time every day probably have crappy days and
You
weeks.
don't put your crappy day on Instagram, right? Like
No.
those are things like I mean, you don't my like Instagram persona is not like me in real life. It's just the me that I want to show to people
Yeah.
for business purposes, which is fine. And I think like the whole thing about the data tracking is like if you have a goal, like check in on it. Like I'm one of those people, I've read a lot of books. I'm a lifetime learner. I enjoy reading. I think I've read over 100 like business books. You know what I mean? Like Atomic Habits for one is like a really good book that I'll go back and read it again every once in a while when I feel like I'm down. Like, and I think just being able to push through that and know like what you need to do. So like some days I'm like, okay, I'm just done. I'm going to protect myself. I'm gonna go watch television and zone out or spend time with my kid or my family and just worry about work tomorrow and then show up better, right? It's okay to have an off day. Like you said, yeah, one every five, like, but instead of like putting pressure on yourself to perform in one day, what I found is I will do it in a week. So I will have like a week or a month. And I've started doing sprints where I will have a goal and I will work on that for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time and then see where my result is. And I feel like that like you said, like it's too much pressure to do it in one day, but if you can give yourself like a month's time and plan it out like a project, right? You're going to get much better results than just keep giving yourself that mental pressure every day.
Yeah, I like to I think that for most people to plan out further than 90 days is kind of a fallacy. Because like you're doing a lot of 90 life is a group of a lot of 90-day sprints. And
Yeah.
really they're not sprints, they're marathons. So it's just and the goal of business is not like you don't win it, it's to stay in business. And so every single thing that you do is chunking up to the next thing and the
Yeah.
next thing.
Right.
So I think I completely agree. What I know you're like kind of into AI and stuff. Anything out there that's got you like and I think you're into it just because you are a lifelong learner and curious. Anything out there that's got you kind of excited or things that
Mhm.
like
Oh my
you're
gosh. So AI
happy to
agents,
try?
have you used AI agents yet?
I have.
I think that that's going to be, I mean, obviously you still have to check your chat GPT or whatever. I do a lot of it just like you said, like, yeah, experimentation. I'm not really sure what I want to do with it yet. I think I'm not gonna trust it 100% at this point, but I'll spend at least like a little bit of time every week. My thoughts on AI is it's here. And I know some people who are just vehemently against it, which is fine. But even if you don't like AI, it's going to be a part of your life. And I don't want to be one of those people who don't know how to use it to my advantage, or at least, just know how other people could take advantage of me by knowing it. So, but I think the agents are nice. So, like, for example, I was like thinking about going camping, and I was like, hey, I don't really have time to do this. Let's see if the agent can do it. And I was like, here's my criteria. It needs to be an hour and a half from where I live. It knows my address. I would prefer it to be on the water if we can. You know, it has to be a tent site. It needs to be like X amount of dollars and this date. And it went through and gave me the top 5
Yeah.
things, and it was correct. I mean, we've had agents for what, 2 weeks? 2 weeks, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month. I don't even know. I just started using it this week, and we just don't know where it's going to go at this point. I don't want to be one of those people. I feel like in certain case, I don't want to be one of those people that doesn't know how it works so that I can't benefit into this. And I think like even when I closed my business, like I not only like wanted to do, you know, like do a loan officer thing, but like I had a backup in my mind. Like, okay, if this doesn't work out, then this is my next step. Like I personally like to have like a backup plan, like not just like it just eases your mind to have a contingency and to like think about it. Like you just do what you can for the best of your ability and like just have this knowledge that you're going to be able to figure it out one way or the other. And for me, I just like to have like both of those things in mind when I'm making my goals.
Hey, I want to get a quick message to you here about adding value. And our industry is terrible at telling you, do this, do that. So many people want to add value to you, but value is not in what I give. It's what you receive and whether it makes sense for you or not. We've got a community, CEO 1440, where we post every single day, lots of things, sales scripts, a whole plethora of things. So I don't know what particular things are going to add value to you. They probably all won't, but definitely some of them will. The community is free. Would love for you to get in there, sniff around, poke around, and maybe there's more stuff we can do. But I know it starts because if you're anything like me, you like to get in there, check things out on your own before you go and sign up for some large commitment. So get in there, check out our group. I bet that there's something in there and there's little things that you can do that had you known 6 months ago, you'd be making more money today. Join the group. Look forward to seeing you in there. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of the show. Yeah, I think that for me, one thing, I think just not having a backup is actually way better. Right? Just in that, okay, this is what I'm doing until
Yeah.
I'm not anymore. So that's one thing. But that also may come with being in my 50s instead of in my, less than.
Yeah.
Right? It's just this is what I'm doing, and I'll just keep doing it. But to the AI agents, I think that a lot of people get really like just concerned about it, and it goes back as far as time goes, right? Like we have humans, it's humans plus their skills plus their tools. And
Hmm.
this goes all the way back to right. There was some guy, I don't know how long ago, had a hunchback and really furry, but he was like, I'm not going to use fire. Like fire, I'm just not going to use it. Well, he's
Right.
like, his gene pool didn't make it because fire became a pretty
Right.
important thing. And I kind of see just everything with AI and all the stuff that's out there. It's going to be the human. We all have the same tools. We all have access to it. You all can, our skills are our skills. So it's just going to be the best human that knows the most skills, that has the best tools, will continue to win the same way it's always been until at some point, maybe the tools and the skills just take over and they then run the humans and they just use
Yeah.
us as like a life force. But I think
Right.
I don't think that they're going to start extracting my blood as energy during my
No,
lifetime.
I
Maybe,
don't.
but
So. Well,
it is
a
cool though.
computer program, right? It's like crap in, crap out. You know, I mean, I would caution anybody that uses ChatGPT like to check your data. Like I was using it to quiz me on like a real estate test because I'm going to be taking my real estate exam, and like it was like, well, you didn't get it right, but I'm going to give you credit anyway. And I was like, no, I don't want you to. And I didn't make it specific enough in my prompt. I mean, I was getting the knowledge, but like, don't just give me the credit. Like there's still things about like AI that it's a computer program, right? It's not a person. I know that we all think that it is, and we don't live in sci-fi land. We live in the real world. That things change though. You're right. Like fire changed, the telephone changed. Like I remember when internet like was a bit a thing that and that people were like worried that that was going to ruin our world and you know, consequently, there are some people that know how to use the internet and there are some people who don't. Like
Yeah.
their lives are just different based upon their knowledge. Um, I just think it's interesting too, you know? It's
I
fascinating to me.
To me, it's right. Like I have a thing on my computer that I've been working at training for salespeople, right? I mean, like I helped train you back in 2000, whatever, right? You were
Yeah.
inside of, that I can hit record. I can hit a little red button on my computer screen on any time I'm on a call through my CRM, Zoom, whatever. If it's a mortgage related call, this screen pops up over here and starts giving me suggestions of what to say. While the back end's transcribing my call. And when
Yeah.
I get done, I hang up the call. It gives me suggestions, what things I didn't fill out. And it emails me a 3.4 file that I can
Amazing.
load into any wholesaler. Like I can literally use it. It will schedule meetings. It will do my next thing. Like blows my mind. I would have had to back in the day be sitting on your, a headset in your cube and being able to do that. And it says the things that I would want to say. So totally crazy. That the text there, it's not perfect. I haven't like launched it as a product where you can have me in your cube with you every day for, $97 a month or whatever it is.
Great. Amazing.
But it's very close. And it will today transcribe the calls perfectly, like perfect transcription. And it even goes as far as if you're on your iPhone, it can sync up with your address book. You hit call, you make the call, you're just driving around the golf course, you hang up, and boom, the 3.4 file hits your inbox instantly. You didn't have
That's
to take a note or anything. So, like, that's where it's going. And I think that just for me, what's going to win out in a couple of years is actually going to be the person that doesn't have, like, it's not the fancy things. It's just going to be like authentic, real people will be the oddity. When everything else is fake, like
Yeah.
just being real will actually become the new social, like the social
Yeah.
credit, or where you're gonna is just by being real.
Which I'm kind of excited about. Like I feel like there's going to be this like change in the way that we see things. Or the biggest fear of mine is just, I mean, this is just having like older parents sometimes, is like people not realizing that things are fake and not knowing how to spot things, or taking, people using it for nefarious reasons, right? And I think that's one of the reasons I want to know it. But like using it to collapse time, I think is a big deal. Like you were saying, like it's just like the washing machine. The reason that is the popular thing right now is because it collapses time. You don't have to do a lot of I mean, washing machines now versus washing machines even when I was a kid in the 1980s are completely different, right? So we've got a lot of different things that are going to happen, and it's going to save us the time of the things that you don't really want to do. But if you want to do it, like let's say that you're really into photography, for example, now you're gonna have like you said, like more of a bias towards somebody who did a really nice job on their photography, but then hopefully those people have more time. I don't know. Do you think that we're going to get to the point where a lot of people are going to lose their careers over AI?
I think that you're going to have a shifting in that less and less. Like I right now, I mean, I have this software that I use for my like accounting purposes. And it takes every receipt, like it sorts it, AI looks through all of it, and it does. Like I don't need, years ago I would have had to, I mean, I have hundreds of transactions that come in and out. I would have had to have people there doing that. It now is just done instantaneously. And
Yeah,
almost, right? So
bookkeepers are
like
expensive.
that person is no longer needed. Um, there's just, there's going to be a lot of roles that I just think it just don't, there's going to be duplication across the board. But I think also that people will find other ways to do things. Right? We have a lack of jobs problem. Just there's not, valuable things for people to do, but I I can only control myself, and I will try and stay on the front end to where I continue to be a useful engine inside of society. I think that a lot of people though will lose purpose. They won't really know like what their purpose is, what they're trying to do, and they'll get what life should look like from Instagram. They won't know what's real and not real. And I believe that there will be just a massive disconnect. I was actually having a conversation yesterday with my mother about this. Just young boys, like young men, without really having purpose. Like they're told not, like they're just told all these things. And you see, there was a young kid, right, committed suicide, a friend of one of my siblings, and like they just kind of floundered, right? They like just don't know what to do, and society doesn't point them in a good direction. Like if you go back 100 years ago, like you went and you worked in a factory or you joined the military and you fought for your country, like you did these masculine man things, and now like it's not there. So I'm a little concerned about that, right? I've got three boys and just that they have a lot in life and a place to go. Um, but I think that I think that we're pretty adaptable and we'll figure these things out. I hope.
There's going to be like some dystopia first, there's going to be a lot of people who don't plan ahead, and I think that's the biggest thing. Is I want to be one of the planner heads. I mean, like let's say you know that your job, like let's say you have one of these jobs that is going to be taken over by AI in the next 24 months. What other skills are you learning? What other things are you doing? More generalized skills that you can take from one career to the other, like knowing how to make prompts for AI. I mean, that's just one example. Or like being able to do something that you can cross train. Like I'm getting my real estate license. It's a move that's not too far off from where I'm at. But maybe if I have time collapsed, I do something with that. And maybe I went out and got a whole other degree on computer programming, when I just didn't know what I was going to do when I started my business, because it was just something to like give me purpose, like a thing that I wanted to do that I knew that I could take to whatever career that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
If people start looking into that and like start looking into skills that will be able to be used for any type of career, you got to make yourself bulletproof for your family, right? You got to make sure that you're the most valuable employee. I know people who are struggling, who are men in like their middle age. I see this just from people that I know that are the same ages as I am, where they're not making enough money. They, like you said, there's no one pointing them in that direction. It takes a lot of courage to even just try one thing, or go out there and put it in. Think about AI with resumes. Like it could make a resume and put it out to a job description. These people are getting flooded with AI resumes. I mean, it's just the world is different finding a job
Yeah.
now.
Here's something that's really interesting though, like for you. So let's
Mm-hmm.
say today is 6 years ago and
Yeah.
you don't really know what to do with your knitting business. Here's where it's
Yes.
really exciting. You
Mm-hmm.
today could take your knitting business, create a community on school, charge $49 a month to be part of a knitting community where 2 times a night, 2 times a week, you go live, you help people through patterns, you offer discounts on fabric, right? You charge
Mm-hmm.
500 people, $49 a month. That's 25 grand. So your school community is just making you boom, just 25 grand. That's not an unreasonable amount to pay.
Right.
Now you're also selling some fabric to some of these people. Let's say of the 500 people, 100 of them you make $100 a month off of for other like just fabric stuff. Now you're at
Yeah.
35 grand a month
Yeah.
that you're making off of the school community working from, your sewing room at your
Yeah.
house, and you're drop shipping all the fabric because you can now do that. And
Right.
you now are you weren't able to monetize it back then, where today that can be monetized in those communities, right? It becomes your website, it becomes payment fulfillment. You could do
Mm-hmm.
that business of one doing 35 grand a month in revenue on like $2,500 in like your total expenses are 2,500. You're pocketing 30 grand. Now don't go and do this, right? Like
Right.
we still need you doing like what you're doing, but it,
Right.
that opportunity opens up for a whole lot of people, and that's the power of AI and what you can do. And I know for a fact that knitting community you had 8, 9 years ago would have paid $49 a month to be part of that community, and then they could share patterns, like they could do all kinds of, I don't know about quilting or knitting but I know that those communities exist, and
Yes.
like that there's 25 grand a month right now you could do as a side hustle in the knitting community on school.
Right. Well, and I think that's the thing is what my worry is there, I mean, I see this even in some, like, even like the males that, or females that like, I even had a friend who's like female who is like going back to there. She's gotten herself like a career coach because she is a vet tech, but not sure if she wants to do that anymore. She's got a college degree. She's not, I mean, like she's in her middle life, like ready to have a whole nother life too. And she was really bummed about it. But I was telling her, I was like, you're in your 40s now. Like, your dad is 80, like he's still up and doing things. Like you have 4 more decades. You could have an entirely new life. Like I feel like I'm lucky that I was able to have that like business owner life. And right now I don't want to be the CEO of a company. I did that for 10 years. I want to be the like employee that gets to do like the top producer things and have my own, experimentation. But, we have like this huge opportunity, especially people that are middle aged, even to have like a second whole life, which
Yeah.
that never existed a
And the
hundred
playing
years ago.
field is the playing field is, in my belief, is flatter today than ever before.
Yeah.
Because like I have dyslexia really bad, right? To where I was always like nervous about writing things, and I didn't like to write stuff, and I still to this day. I mean, I spell all kinds of stuff wrong. But with like the advent of AI and those, like I don't type. Very rarely do I type ever. It's almost all just me talking and somebody else doing the typing for me. So like it was able to overcome that hurdle. Or if you're not good
Mhm.
at something, like you now are becoming augmented to where the difference between top and bottom like is a lot flatter, and then it becomes the creative parts of your brain and your willingness to endure pain and to do those kind of things that are going to separate. So it's super
Yeah.
exciting. That's a lot of stuff. So I have just some like mortgage questions here. If anybody is still here, my mind is blown, especially the mortgage people. But I think this is super entertaining. What would if you had to, let's say somebody's starting out in mortgage banking today. They got their NMLS 6 months ago. They're struggling. Maybe they've closed one deal. It was for their aunt. What would be just some pointers you would give to if you had to go back and restart your business today?
Yeah.
And you had a limited budget, a couple grand a month, right? You were down to 3 months of savings.
Hmm.
What would you do like with that money? Where would you go to find deals, to close next month?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I would do would be make sure everything in my personal life was taken care of, like systems, right? Like all my food's taken care of, like I've got everything done so that I can focus on what I'm doing. And then I would probably go all in on just telling people about my new job. And then I mean, I would call not just real estate agents that I know, I'd be calling like my sister and saying like, "Hey, who do you know that's a real estate agent that you can refer me to?" And just being like, I mean, that's the first thing, right? Your circle of influence. If I had money, I mean, I've never been good with paid ads. I've always just wasted my money on that. I'm much better at organic traffic. If I was going to go on social media, the first thing I would do is like create, like have AI help you. Like here's all of the stuff that you can put on your social media to make it work. And then I would just go comment on other people's things. I would go out and I would make friends with people in the industry. I would I would just immerse myself in the thing. And that's what I do. Like if I want to like succeed at something, it's everything that I think about for like the first 6 weeks, right? If it was like I'm gonna make money, it would be my number one priority.
So go all in. Just
Yeah,
be
I mean, think
obsessed.
about it. I mean, what happens? Like, you go all in for 3 months, and then you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to do it. And then you just have to decide, like, do I have enough money to keep on? Do I enjoy this? I mean, like, that's a huge thing, is your enjoyment factor. I mean, you take a job if you have to. I mean, I would, go work at wherever if I needed to feed my family. But if I had the privilege of being able to choose what I wanted to do, I would be like, does this excite me after I've been doing it for 3 months? And then either just keep going all in or choose something different.
And it gets more exciting the better you get at it too. What
Yeah,
I know you've been doing this, and I wanted to ask you about this earlier, but you've been running and doing. I think you're doing continuing education courses for real estate agents,
I
um,
just started that.
and you're using that as one a way to meet agents because you're trying to get away from working like being captive to these large teams. Can you just tell me quickly, like what exactly you're doing their yearly CE? You're covering the
Yeah.
cost, doing it for free. How does that work? Like, what are you doing for them?
Here's my plan is, well, I mean, I actually both have my continuing education license in Michigan for insurance agents and for real estate agents. And
Okay.
I'm not a like take people out to I mean, I'll go to have lunch and coffee with people. It's not scalable. Like it's a one-on-one thing. You're just like, "Hi, how's your family?" Whatever, and you
Right.
do your jogging or whatever these people tell you to do. And then you just keep hounding them every Thursday. Like that's exciting, but like I want to give something to value for these real estate agents. And it's kind of like a putting a gap into their mind of like, maybe the loan officer I work with doesn't know everything that this person who's giving me free education. Most people don't have to pay for their continuing education as a real estate agent, but like this is a way for me to get in front of somebody, do a 2 hour class where I'm showing somebody that I'm the expert in this field. By the way, I mean, like I've done 2 classes now. This week was my first time doing it. And I mean, right after my first class, I got a referral, right? I didn't have to take this woman out to coffee. I did 10 people at a time. It wasn't like a one-on-one. And they left seeing me as the authority on that. And that's what I want. I want people to think of me as an authority, or like maybe a deal's going wrong and then they can call me like, hey, this other loan officer couldn't make this happen. Could you do it for me? And now I've got their attention forever, right?
Yeah, I think that's ingenious. I probably have some mechanisms to help get in front of more people. I've got some cool things that I'm working on with a whole kind of little crazy campaign on the back end with my Ask the Loan Guy. So I've got a bunch of things, but I think that we could find a way to, I'm not offering it, so I'm
Right.
not going to do continuing ed, but maybe we can put you in the mix and get you in front of a couple hundred more agents a year.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, we've been going here for quite a while. I kept you longer than I said I would, but
That's all
anything
right.
that you would like, just pieces of wisdom, stuff that you would impart on people out there in the mortgage or real estate space. And two, if you are a real estate agent and maybe you're not 100% certain that your lender is, like if you're a lender, and I say this all the time, if all the lender you work with does pre-approvals, pays for a couple of something on Zillow, they don't really help you sell anything extra, they're not providing you coaching, anything beyond issuing a pre-approval, everybody can close loans fast. Everybody should return your phone calls. Like that shouldn't be a reason to continue to do
Bare
business
minimum.
with them. Your lender should actually be helping you sell more transactions. And when your client goes and sees a house, your lender should be the one talking to them about making an offer. They should be closing on your behalf. And if that's not happening and you want somebody, like, reach out. Brenda's awesome. She's licensed in a bunch of states. Reach out to us. I mean, like my wife, she works with my wife. They have a company. They do awesome, great things. The Mortgage Mom Squad, they kick ass, and happy to have them there. Like I said, I try not to be overly involved with them because I'm not part of the squad. But any like kind of parting words, things like if anybody wants to reach out, they got questions for you. I know you,
I'm
anything.
always here to teach you about scenarios and fixing things. Like my favorite thing is to fix a deal that's going south because I know a little thing that or a trick that could help. But I think the number one thing is like the industry is going to be changing a lot. There's a lot of real estate agents that left. You saw a lot of loan officers leaving. If you're still around or you're looking into it, like choose your hard, right? Like it's going to be hard, but it will be profitable one day. But it's all about mindset. That's the first thing is like I feel like I get down on myself, but I keep doing it and like just cram your brain full of positive things if you're not feeling good and it will eventually change.
Yeah, I love that. Choose your heart.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't
I mean,
make that up,
it's the
but
truth though. It doesn't, it's not, it's gonna be hard. It doesn't
yeah.
matter what you're doing. Like it's gonna be hard. And, and I know you did, we won't even like, I was gonna ask you about, you use our FinLocker app or our Fin Toolbox app. I know a lot of times you put a lot of clients in there with like iffy credit, those kind of things. Anything you have to say there? Like, do you like it? Where are you utilizing that the most?
I think that one of the things that I'm using it for my credit repair clients the most. I feel like in the past, like there wasn't really much that I would be doing with. I had someone that I would send any credit repair people to, years ago, but then that whole business changed, right? So I didn't have someone that was keeping up with my clients for me. So this is just the kind of, I mean, I'm using it for people that they're not ready yet. Like if they're like, I'm not going to be doing this for 3 months, I'd be like, perfect. I will follow up with you. Here's something you can do. Or I'm worried about my credit. Here, just do this for free. And then I feel like it's a good thing that I can offer to my agents as well, where they can do it. So I'm using it, like, for example, on my to-do list this week is to go through my FinLocker and anybody whose credit improved since the last time, even if it's not ready yet, just to like shoot them a quick test, saw your credit improved, congratulations. Like it doesn't need to take a lot of time to, like you said, eventually turn into business next year.
Yeah, and one other just pro tip that I've been seeing some people do really well with, all of your pre-approvals, even the ones that are ready to go,
Yeah.
taking them right into the home search thing. Hey, I've got this app. It does all kinds of things. There's one thing that a lot of my clients have found really cool. Instead of going to Zillow, Realtor.com, one of those places where they limit the properties that you see, and then they're constantly trying to get you with an agent. A lot of my clients are really liking this. You can go in, you can favorite as many properties, you get all the notifications if prices change, and you can keep a running tally of your own on all the houses that you like. I don't know if it'd be crazy. You want me to send you the link, or you want to just keep going out? And I'm finding people that are using that pitch and then just sending it right to the search for properties.
Yeah.
Clients are going in, and I see people that have favorited 60 properties in 30 days.
Dang.
So they're just using that in place of, like, I don't want any of my clients going to Redfin, because that's the same as sending them to Rocket. Like, why would you send your client to Rocket? Like, you wouldn't. So why send your realtor clients, your, buyers there? So something that's very interesting. My last parting words for anybody that's still here, if you got questions, concerns, you want to understand more about your business, deep dive into it, I'll sit down. I'm happy to sit down with anyone and do a one-on-one where we kind of look at your business, identifying the key constraints. If you want to reach out to Brenda, she's moving again. She's like coming back to life. And I hope that the recording will actually not even have that glitch in there. Yeah, reach out. Myself, Brenda, you guys got questions about real estate, being a broker, anything at all. We all have 1,440 minutes. Please reach out. Brenda, you got frozen there for a minute. You got any last words?
No, just we're going to see the next couple of years go. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, and rates will get better. My prediction is we're going to start seeing rates.
Maybe.
I think that we're going to, my own take, for what it's worth, this and $5 will get you a cup of coffee in most places. I think that once we see the first Fed rate cut with the way the jobs numbers have shaken out, I think that we will see interest rates significantly better by the end of the first quarter. I think that we'll see a Fed rate cut this year. And once that happens, I think we'll see 3 to 6 more on the tail end of that, to where millions of people are going to become eligible for a refinance that will make sense. Credit card debt's at an all-time high. Like, there's just a lot of things really setting us up for a nice little run. And today is the day. If you don't have your poop in a group, like your CRM doesn't work, you don't have your social media, now is the time to be investing in those things that are going to pay dividends in 6 months. Like, take the time today when you're a little bit slower, instead of, binge watching something on Netflix.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Brenda. I appreciate you doing this.
Thanks for having me on, guys.